How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's Reviews. Today I've got another bumper review for you. We've got a great lineup. First up is one of my most anticipated films of the year from one of my favourite filmmakers working today, that is Robert Eggers. It's The Northman.
Now, behold.
He's here. He's here.
Mother! Father is here!
The king, my lady. The king.
Your fate is set and you cannot escape it.
Set in the frosty hills of Scandinavia, the Northman follows Prince Amleth on his quest for vengeance. His father is killed at the hands of his uncle and his mother is forcefully taken to be his bride, while the prince must flee to save his own life. Many years later, Amleth returns to avenge his father, save his mother, and kill his uncle Fionnu. I love this. Robert Eggers so far is 3 for 3. The Witch remains one of my favourite horror movies of all time, and The Lighthouse is just an experience. It's an indescribable experience, but it is an experience nonetheless. And now with The Northman, this might just be Eggers' magnum opus. After hearing me read that synopsis, you wouldn't be alone in thinking that it bears some striking similarities to William Shakespeare's Hamlet. I mean, you only have to look at the main character's name, Hamlet, Amleth. But not many people know that The Northman is actually inspired by the text that inspired Hamlet. But nevertheless, while the general plot may be familiar in some aspects, it's Eggers' direction that makes this stand on its own. This is perhaps Eggers' most accessible film to date, but that doesn't mean that he's reined in any of his more avant-garde tendencies. The screenplay, whilst balancing Amleth's bloodthirsty tale for revenge, also immerses itself deep within Norse mythology and spirituality. Some average movie-going folk probably aren't going to care for it, but I was just so pleased to see a big, bold production take such giant swings and do something very original. It's not often that we see a movie of what feels like this size being able to be that ambitious. As for a cast, this is one heck of a talented ensemble, led comfortably by a beastly performance from Alexander Skarsgård. The man totally disappears into this Goliath fueled only by revenge. Anya Taylor-Joy reteams with Eggers for a very intriguing role as a spell speaker teaming with Amleth to torment his uncle and their tribe. Claes Bang and Ethan Hawke also give great performances, whilst Nicole Kidman, who starts the film fairly unassuming, totally comes into her own in the second half of the film. One scene in particular, like, up until this point, I almost felt like she'd been forgotten, considering how understated her performance was. But in that scene, everything comes together and she blew me away. Even the production value of this film looks immense, and the cinematography is just beautiful. There is not a single shot out of place, and the score is sensational. It makes you feel as if you are ascending to Valhalla. It just elevates every moment in the film. My only critique, and this is very minimal, is that the second act drags just ever so slightly. It wasn't an overbearing problem, but it was something that I noticed a little bit. Otherwise, The Northman is an absolute tour de force. Robert Eggers has delivered yet again, with perhaps his most metal and exciting film yet. A gruesome Viking revenge action drama steeped in Norse spirituality is simply a rarity in the modern filmmaking world. But with a tremendous cast and Eggers' immense talent behind the camera, The Northman is likely to go down as a future classic. I'm going to give The Northman a 9 out of 10. Can't believe currently there's this debate whether Eggers should take on the Nosferatu project. He's 3 films in and he's delivered banger after banger. Give him whatever he wants to do. And now moving on from the frosty landscapes of Scandinavia to the tropical jungle for an entertaining action-adventure comedy with The Lost City.
Listen, Loretta, we need you to promote your new book on the Lost City. You can't spend your life in the bathtub drinking Chardonnay with ice.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world's sexiest cover model, Dash McMahon!
You do know you're not Dash, right? Dash is a character I made up. Dash! Oh my god. Oh, crap.
Sandra Bullock plays a struggling writer known for her acclaimed steamy adventure novel series. When on a press tour for her newest installment, she is kidnapped by a maniacal billionaire set on using her knowledge to solve a real mystery. Therefore, it's up to her plucky, yet brainless cover model to try and save her. This one, I'll keep straight to the point, I had a good time with The Lost City. What it does best is what it should do best, and that is ride on the charm and chemistry of its two leads. Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum play brilliantly off one another here. Tatum in particular does such an amazing job as the hapless idiot whose heart is always in the right place. I feel like he's been missing for a while, or it feels like it's been a while, so I'm really hopeful that this is him starting to come back to the forefront, because he has everything you would need for a gigantic Hollywood leading man. Daniel Radcliffe plays the typical British moustache-twirling villain, and he's clearly having fun. And as shown in the trailer, Brad Pitt briefly shows up in an utterly ridiculous cameo, and in one sequence, he completely steals the show. That entire sequence itself is the film's highlight. The story isn't breaking any new ground whatsoever. You know how and where everything will go before it happens, and the mystery itself is kind of dull. But thankfully the film doesn't try to focus on that too much. It knows that you're there to be entertained, to laugh at the silly chemistry between Bullock and Tatum, and thankfully it focuses on that most of the time. The charm of Bullock and Tatum is the selling point of The Lost City. Their relationship throws plenty of zingers at you, and many of them left me laughing quite a bit. But if you were to put them to one side, you are left with a painfully generic adventure movie. So just take this as another example of the stars really making the movie. So I'm going to give The Lost City a 6.5 out of 10. And finally in this bumper review is perhaps one of the most meta films you are likely to come across all year, in a role that some say Nicolas Cage was born to play. It's The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
We got another offer. It's $1 million. It's to attend a wealthy gentleman's birthday party.
I would never do that.
It's the easiest gig ever. You play yourself.
What do we know about this guy anyway? Is he into something strange?
It's not like he's gonna want you to suck his dick or fuck his wife or watch him fuck his wife.
I wouldn't think so.
Welcome to Mallorca, Mr. Cage.
The guy that owns this house, what's his name?
Javi.
Is Javi gonna want me to,
I am Javi.
Nick Cage.
We all know the legend that is Nicolas Cage. Movie star extraordinaire, won an Oscar, action star, also known for his fair share of wild acting moments. And so in this film, Nick Cage is hired to attend a party for an illustrious host with a potentially criminal background. And that's all I'll share, because I think it's best to know as little as possible as to where this story goes. Nicolas Cage is an enigma. He can churn out iconic performances for both good and bad reasons, but can also star in massive blockbusters and small direct-to-DVD flicks. But nevertheless, he's beloved. And the one thing I noticed immediately from writer-director Tom Gormican is his overwhelming passion for Nick Cage. As we meet Cage in this incarnation, he's down on his luck looking for the next gig. And Cage is more than up for the ridiculing and satirization of his own career, but at the same time also humanizes himself. Basically, it outlines some of the reasons why in real life Nick Cage takes some of the more bizarre projects that he does. It makes you warm to both him as a character and him as the actual actor. Cage is Cage. I mean, there's not much to say, really. He's totally in on the joke, goes nuts the only way Cage can, and also shares the most wholesome chemistry with Javi, played by Pedro Pascal. Pascal, it turns out, is a dab hand at comedy. Watching him fanboy out in the presence of Cage and them going on their little escapades, including watching Paddington 2 together, which, is a stroke of genius. Their adventures were hilarious. I had a blast watching them two just hang out on screen. And that kind of took up most of the first half, and I was having a blast. I was laughing my ass off. I thought it was brilliant. And then came along the second half, and it did what a lot of comedies tend to do, and realized that they've spent so much time focusing on jokes in the first half that they've kind of put the plot to the backdrop, and then realized that, oh, we actually have a story to tell, bring the plot forward, but often at the expense of jokes. And it also feels in this instance like the writers were worried that the self-referential nature of the film would tire out, it would start to lose its comedic effect. It never did. I never felt that way. And instead, they kind of supplement in this crime thriller story that, for me at least, never had me on board. As far as wild Nicolas Cage movies go, this would have benefited pushing the boat out a lot more, but when it's focused on celebrating Cage and reveling in the goofiness between Cage and Pascal, the movie soars. When the story wiggles its way to the forefront and begins taking over, well, that's when I started losing interest. So, I'm going to give The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent a 7.5 out of 10. I really do want to stress, that first half of the film is like magic. It's gold dust. And then it really started losing me in the second half. But anyway, those are all of my thoughts on The Northman, The Lost City, and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Let me know, have you had a chance to see any of these films yet? What did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. That is all we have time for today. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button, and if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.